Strasbourg holds a new title nobody wants, the capital of the green gridlock. Transaction volumes for new builds have flatlined by 55% in a single year. The purchasing power of the average resident has shrunk so fast that for a €1,000 monthly mortgage payment, you're now losing 12 square meters of space compared to just 3 years ago. You're paying more to live in a shoebox. The numbers seem abstract until you drive through the Neudorf district and see the construction cranes standing still like rusted monuments to a bygone era. The city that hosts the European Parliament, the self-proclaimed capital of Europe, has just experienced a mechanical failure of its entire housing engine, and the driver, Mayor Jeanne Barseghian, isn't checking the oil. She is busy ripping up the asphalt to plant wildflowers while the traffic behind her piles up for miles. We have a massive pileup in Alsace, folks. Usually on this channel, we look at drivers who ignore the check engine light. Today, we're looking at a mayor who saw the low fuel light and decided the solution was to slash the gas tank to save the planet. The result is a total loss. The chassis is bent. The investors are fleeing across the bridge to Kiel, Germany, and the locals are trapped in a rental market that is squeezing them until they suffocate. To understand how we ended up in this ditch, we need to look at the maintenance records. For years, Strasbourg was the reliable sedan of the French market. It wasn't as flashy as Paris, and it wasn't as chaotic as Marseille. It was a German-engineered Mercedes, solid, reliable, and it held its value. It had the TGV connecting it to Paris in under 2 hours. It had the EU institutions bringing in high-salary bureaucrats. It had a massive student population keeping the rental engine humming. The Kammer in this situation, the buy-to-let investor, loved it. You bought a studio in the Krutenau, you rented it to a student, you made your 5%, easy driving. But then the new driver took the wheel in 2020. Jeanne Barseghian, the Green Party mayor. Now I'm all for fuel efficiency, but Barseghian didn't just want to drive the car, she wanted to ban the car. She declared a climate emergency on day one, and in the world of real estate, a climate emergency is code for we are going to make building anything virtually impossible. Here's the maneuver that caused the crash. It's called the PLU factor, the local urban plan. The mayor's office decided to rewrite the rules of the road. They introduced massive restrictions on artificialization of soils. They effectively said, if you want to build a new apartment complex, you can't pave over any new land. You have to build on top of old land. That sounds nice in a press release. It sounds great at a climate conference. But in the real world, it means the cost of construction skyrockets because you have to demolish and decontaminate before you can even pour the foundation. Then she hit the social housing button. She mandated that in certain zones, up to 40% of new developments must be social housing. Let's look at the physics of that maneuver. You are a developer. You are trying to build a building. The city tells you that 40% of your units must be sold at a massive loss to the social housing office. To make a profit, you have to jack up the prices on the other 60% of units, the ones for regular people. But regular people can't afford those prices because interest rates are at 4%. So what does the developer do? He hits the brakes. He cancels the project. We are seeing this play out in real time. The Port du Rhin area, which was supposed to be the new vibrant expansion of the city towards Germany, is sputtering. Projects are being delayed. Promoters are going bankrupt. The Kammer is looking at the math and realizing that the numbers don't work, but the crash isn't just about new builds. It's about the existing fleet. Strasbourg has an incredibly old housing stock, beautiful half-timbered houses, charming, right? Well, not to the DPE, Energy Performance Diagnostic. The new national laws say you can't rent out thermal sieves, apartments with poor insulation. In Strasbourg, half the city is a thermal sieve. A rational mayor would say, okay, let's incentivize renovation. Let's help landlords fix these places so the students have somewhere to live. Not Barseghian. Her administration views the private landlord as the enemy. The rhetoric coming out of City Hall isn't let's work together. It's you are greedy and we are going to regulate you. They implemented rent controls that cap the potential income while simultaneously demanding expensive green renovations. It is the classic pincer movement. You increase the cost of ownership, renovations, property taxes, and you cap the revenue, rent controls. You are squeezing the engine until the head gasket blows. And it has blown. Let's look at the student housing pileup. Strasbourg is a student city. Every September, thousands of kids flood in looking for apartments. In 2024 and 2025, we saw lines down the block for a single 15-square-meter studio. Why? Because the small landlords, the ones who own these studios, are selling. They are getting out. They can't afford to do the 30,000 euro energy renovation on an apartment that is rent capped at 400 euros a month, so they sell. But who is buying? Nobody, because the investors know the game is rigged and the first-time buyers can't get a loan. So the inventory sits there, vacant or for sale, while students are sleeping on their friends' couches. The situational awareness of the mayor is zero. She is celebrating the fact that there are more bike lanes. Great, you can ride your bike to the apartment you can't afford. You can ride your bike past the construction site that has been abandoned for 6 months. And let's talk about the border effect. This is the blind spot. Strasbourg is right on the German border. Kehl is 5 minutes away by tram. For years, people lived in Strasbourg and worked in Germany or vice versa. But now we are seeing a shift. Investors are looking at the German side. Sure, Germany has its own issues, but at least they aren't treating the construction industry like a criminal enterprise. The institutional money, the big funds that buy entire blocks, are looking at the dash cam footage of Strasbourg. They see a mayor who cancels projects because they don't fit the aesthetic. They see a city that is hostile to growth, and they are taking the exit ramp. The local construction federation, Fédération du Bâtiment, has been screaming for 2 years. They're saying, we are going to lose 3,000 jobs, and these aren't bankers losing their jobs. These are the guys pouring concrete. These are the electricians. The mayor's response, we need to rethink the city. Yeah, you can't rethink the city if nobody's building the city. Let's go to the overhead view to assign fault. Party A, the global market. Interest rates are high. Materials are expensive. The global conditions are wet and slippery. Everyone is struggling. We acknowledge that. Party B, Mayor Barseghian. She is 90% at fault for the severity of the crash. She saw the slippery road conditions and decided to slash the tires by implementing aggressive ideological constraints on building during the worst economic downturn in a decade. She turned a slowdown into a full-blown pileup. She ignored the mechanics of the market. She assumed that developers have infinite margins. She assumed that landlords would just eat the losses. She forgot that capital has the right of way. It can leave. Now the city is stuck. The budget is straining because transfer taxes, the fees the city gets when you sell a house, have plummeted. So what is the next move? You guessed it, raise property taxes. It is a death spiral. You tax the owners because you have no money. The owners leave or stop maintaining the buildings. The city gets less attractive. The prices drop, the tax revenue drops. The takeaway for today is simple. A city is a machine. It needs fuel, investment. It needs maintenance, renovation, and it needs a driver who understands physics. Strasbourg has a driver who is trying to power a diesel truck with good vibes and wildflowers. The numbers are terrifying, not just because they are red, but because they were preventable. Strasbourg could have been the safe haven. It could have been the fortress. Instead, it's just another example of what happens when ideology grabs the steering wheel. If you're holding property in Strasbourg, check your airbags. If you are thinking of buying, wait for the tow truck. The wreckage hasn't even been cleared yet. Blessings.